People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
The Adam Project is directed by Shawn Levy and stars Ryan Reynolds, Braxton Birkin, and Mark Ruffalo. After accidentally crash landing in 2022, time-traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed teams up with his 12-year-old self for a mission to save the future. Seeing how everything marketed this movie as being from the guys who made Free Guy, I actually wasn't really that excited for this movie, mainly because personally, I wasn't really that big a fan of last year's Free Guy. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the movie, it's just that Free Guy wasn't really my thing. However, when I saw the trailer for this movie and saw that it was going to take a bit more of a serious turn than Free Guy, I actually started to grow a bit of interest. So was this yet another movie that I just couldn't get into, or did I actually find myself enjoying it quite a bit? I actually found myself quite enjoying it quite a bit. I thought this was actually a really fun movie. I think we can get the most obvious plus out of the way as quickly as possible. Ryan Reynolds is great. Yeah, like most of his movies nowadays, he does his usual sort of Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, sarcastic wit and quips shtick, but I'm sorry, it's still a charming and funny shtick. That, and he gets to show off some of his more dramatic talents, as there are quite a few cases where both he and the rest of the really funny and talented cast can take a moment and express themselves in some really great dramatic moments. Everyone is really good in this movie. Everyone is really funny and really talented. Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Gardner, Braxton Birkin. We'll get to in a minute. The action in this movie is also awesome. Not only is it completely creative with all of the very futuristic gadgets and all that, but the dynamic camera work makes you feel every single impact, and it is so much fun. And lastly, the direction of this movie is surprisingly great. I was honestly shocked that this was from the same director as Free Guy, because tonally, this is a completely different film. Throughout most of the movie, it felt like an 80s kids movie where the kid finds something super strange and needs to hide it, like E.T. or Iron Giant. This film has a real sense of wonder and adventure to it that I can only compare to Spielberg in his early days. Side note, I now only realize that Shawn Levy also produced Stranger Things, so now a lot of it makes sense. But are there flaws? Absolutely. For one, I feel like the pacing of this movie is a bit too rushed. There are a lot of moments where scenes will just cut really awkwardly, and there are a lot of moments where characters will be introduced to earth-shattering realizations, and they'll just take it in stride because we have to move the story along. I also wasn't a real big fan of two characters. One of them is Braxton Birkin as young Ryan Reynolds, young Adam Reed. Don't get me wrong, he does a fine job in the role, it's just that all of his dialogue is meant to evoke that sort of Ryan Reynolds charm and wit, and it just feels very unnatural for a 12-year-old to be speaking like that. That, and even though he's pretty much a main character as we're introduced to him at the start of the movie, by the second half, he's pretty much sidelined to just a couple lines of dialogue. The second character I wasn't really a big fan of was the villain, played by Catherine Keener. She's just really boring in the movie. She's supposed to be like this big threatening presence and this big businesswoman, but I never got a real sense of threat or any memorable dialogue from her. I'll give Free Guy credit where credit is due. The villain in that movie, played by Taika Waititi, I actually do remember, and I do remember all of his energy. I'm not going to remember a thing about this villain. And lastly, the movie is a bit predictable, mainly due to the fact that the foreshadowing in this movie is so stupidly overdone. There are lines of dialogue that pretty much tell you this is how the movie's going to end. This is going to be the last scene. This is going to be the last thing our character is going to do in this movie. And you know, because we're going to tell you it right now at the very beginning of the movie. It's very obvious and it's very lazy. But with that said, in all honesty, I don't really care. I actually had a great time with the Adam Project. The pacing can be a bit rushed at times, some of the characters aren't as strong or memorable as others, and the overuse of foreshadowing in the dialogue just makes the entire movie embarrassingly predictable. However, the actors are all great and get to show off a lot of their comedic and dramatic talent. The action is memorable and awesome, and Shawn Levy's direction is great and shows his range behind the camera. As Ryan Reynolds sci-fi movies go, I think Green Lantern proves this could have been way worse, and this was so much fun, and light years better than that movie ever was. Hey, if he gets to throw Green Lantern under the bus randomly in all of his movies, why can't I with this video? I'm going to give the Adam Project a B. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, if you could time travel, would you meet your past or future self? I would personally go to the past and meet my younger self. All the things I would tell him to prepare for. Oh yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.